I grew up on Long Island in this town in Hauppauge with a wonderful pair of parents that were incredibly supportive of my ventures in life, I guess you could say. They were remarkable people. My dad was an air traffic controller, and my mom was a mom. She was a stay-at-home mom, but they were not musicians. Actually, nobody in the family was musicians. Nobody in the family really went to college. So there was no pressure from my family. And when I decided that I was really interested in music and I wanted to take lessons, my parents were a bit skeptical because my brother had decided that he wanted to play trombone, which lasted for like 5 minutes. So when I said to my parents I wanted to be a musician, my dad was like, "Really? Are you sure? Because, your brother?" And I said, "No, I really do." They wanted me to play the viola at school, and because I have giant hands. My father said, "Well, I thought you wanted to play the flute." And I said, "I do, but maybe for the year I'll play the viola." He said, my father said, "No, if you really want something, you should hold out for the thing that you want to do." I have this picture that my father took on my 11th birthday. My parents had given me this box, and I opened it up, and they had hidden a flute in the box. And my father caught me in this moment of utter joy. That moment for me, when I found that recently, it was such a beautiful memory and such a poignant moment for me, because it was a moment, not that I knew that I was going to be a flutist, because I knew that earlier, but it was my moment to run forward in time with an instrument that was going to work for me. In high school, I had this incredible opportunity. Paula Robeson, the flutist of the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center, under the direction of Charles Wadsworth, was coming to give a master class. I was given the opportunity to play in this master class for her, and I was so excited. After she worked with me in the master class, she asked me what I was doing next year and asked if I was going to go to Juilliard or what my plans were. And at that time, I really didn't know what I was going to do. And she said to me, "It's so clear to me that you have to be a flutist." I followed her directions to a T and wound up working with the teacher that would be most influential in my life for 11 years, and that was Samuel Barron. Isn't that cool?
That's so great.
Every time I see him, I think how lucky we are that I studied with him, because that's how I met you.
Oh.
Samuel Barron was such an amazing teacher. He was a philosopher, a scholar. He was a great musician. He was always looking for ways to help his students figure out their problems without making them self-conscious about it. His methods involved drawings and books, which I have, and one of my favorite drawings actually is one of his ideas that learning is a series of plateaus and walls, and he called it the plateau of learning. It looks like just straight line and then a wall and then a straight line and then a wall and a straight line and a wall. And what you see is a stick figure kind of walking along. It describes the journey of a musician where you're working and everything's going fine and you're learning things, and suddenly you get to something and you can't figure it out. And you sort of spin your heels, but then you figure something out, you learn something. Boom! There's your goal, you attain it. Mm-hmm. And then you're on another plateau and you keep walking. But as you're doing, your goal is moving. And you feel so elated. You feel like you've conquered something. And this is great, I can now do this. And then you keep walking. You're not looking back. You keep walking. You have this sense, as you look back on it, of exponential growth. That is a beautiful thing, to feel that you're a student of life. And Mr. Barron was truly a student of life. He played chamber music. He played a lot of contemporary music. So I find that I've modeled my career in a very similar way. I started getting more recognition for the things that I had been doing. And David Schifrin, director of Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center, heard me play and invited me to play at CMS. That was the moment that everything just clicked together. I am now suddenly playing with the people that I have been watching and listening to for years, being in awe of their artistry and their musicianship. That was a bizarre realization for me because you feel like a child looking up, and here they are just rehearsing and doing their day-to-day thing like they always do. So it was very normal for them, but for me it was just mind-blowing. There's a lot of support and a lot of center to the voice, but then air over the top.
Okay.
Like a bonus. I love teaching. I love my students. The process of teaching informs my playing and helps me become a better player. And through that, I can help my students achieve their goals. So you could try some with vocal without. Teaching these days is a little more complicated than it has been in years past because in-person teaching is complicated, especially with flute and all the aerosols and all that stuff. So I've been working with my students online. And the one thing that they miss the most and that I miss the most is community. Everyone's in these little squares on the computers and Zoom, and I haven't met all of my students yet. I haven't heard them live yet in a room, which is so bizarre to me, but I've heard them on the computer. It's wild to not have met people, but to be creating all of this stuff, right?
Everyone I know is a stranger.
To create community, I decided to commission all the composers at Bard Conservatory and Purchase College Conservatory of Music. And we have wonderful composition faculty there to write for my class. What we wound up with was this exciting series of about 20 commissions for the two groups, and we are now recording them at home in isolation. This situation that we're in currently has forced us all to adapt to learning new skills and getting our art out there and getting other art out there and to continue to create. Interestingly enough, it's a very similar way to the way that I started my career, was working with living composers and recording their works. So I guess it's sort of being passed on that way as well, paying it forward. My students always ask me what it feels like to have made it. I'm always surprised by that idea that I've made it because I don't really feel like I've made anything. I just feel like I've gone through my life and my career and I continue to work on the projects that I do. There's so many more pieces I want to learn. There's so much more I want to learn to continue to grow because you're never done.